Coming to you from Strings and Things Studio in Ventura, California, I'm Anne.
I'm Katie.
I'm Karin.
And this is the Strings Unraveled Book Club.
Woo.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. So we read The Witch's Heart by Genevieve Gornichec.
Yep.
And I was very pleased when I was listening to the audiobook.
Yeah.
That howtopronounce.com did not lead me astray. I think I did a fair job.
There were a lot of things to pronounce in that book.
I only tried Angerboda.
Yeah. Angerboda.
Yeah. Soft A, hard A, whatever. The Witch's Heart opens with literal heartbreak and flames. Angerboda has been burned 3 times and her heart has been stabbed and removed for refusing to help Odin peer into the future. Yet still she lives, largely stripped of her powers and reduced to foraging for roots and snaring rabbits in a forest at the edge of the world. When a god, the frost giant trickster Loki, returns her gouged out heart, Angerboda is distrustful. But as Loki continues to insinuate himself into Angerboda's life, distrust turns first to affection and then to deep love. The witch and the god have 3 fate-possessed children together. The wolf Fenrir, the Midgard serpent Jormungandr.
Jormungand.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Because I'm like, I only listened to it for 11 hours, but now I'm having stress seeing it written. Jormungand. And the half-dead girl and future queen of the dead, Hel. Together with
appropriate.
Yeah. Together with the help of the huntress Skadi, Angerboda attempts to shield her growing family from Odin's searching eye, but the threat that her unusual family poses to the gods in Asgard can't be ignored for long, and every step they take pushes them collectively towards a climactic conflict. Ragnarok. I'm just scanning real quick to see if there's more. The rest is very editorialized, so that's what we're here for. And that synopsis is from bookpage.com.
Okay.
The review was by Laura Hubbard. So, best question. What are you guys knitting? What are you working on while we talk?
I am working on a very simple sockhead hat in some Tweedy Ireland wool that I bought when we were there.
And I remember. It's like a neat, because it always looks black when I first look at it.
Yeah, it's navy. It's definitely got black, like, spun into it. This is my, like, purse project because it's small, so that is what I'm working on today because I forgot to bring anything else this morning when I left at 7:30 in the morning.
On your rush out the door.
Yep.
How about you, Karin?
I cast on some mitts on really fat needles to go with another project that I finished, which we'll talk about on the next podcast.
Stay tuned.
Yep.
But I kind of love a mindless, big chunky yarn.
Yeah.
This is Dash by Barocco, and it's all cream, which having anything made with cream is really me throwing caution to the wind. But there's that dash of color that is just enough. I'm hoping to save me.
Nice.
My mom gave Marabella some fabric to sew something for herself for Christmas, and Bella was very quiet after receiving it, and my mom wasn't sure if she liked it. I'm like, oh, I'm sure she liked it. She was like, I'm coming down from a sugar rush or something. So I talked to Bella about it later. She's like, it's white, Mom. I can't have white things.
I love that she knows herself.
Yeah. I understand how that feels.
So actually, we want to ice dye this fabric at some point.
Oh, fun.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Because it's not just like white cotton. It's like a Swiss dot or something. It's very, very pretty.
The texture might show up it makes it do some cool things.
Yeah. I am knitting more baby hats, which my husband has put the store of baby presents for future coworkers' babies in a box in his classroom labeled baby parts. Feels like as a
keep
middle
the children
school
on their
science
toes.
teacher. Yeah. He has, like, it's a cabinet that he doesn't open that often.
Yeah.
And so every once in a while when he does open, the kids are like, "What's in there?" And he's can't wait for the
Baby
first
parts.
one to be like, "What does that say?"
See for yourself.
Right? So what'd you guys think of this book?
I thoroughly enjoyed this book.
I loved it so much.
Wonderful. Well, great news. She has a second book, which is what is it called? I'll come back to that.
I'll look it up. I got the computer.
I actually found this book by way of the second book because it's kind of a new publication. But I always like to start with the first novel because people's styles change and evolve.
The Weaver and the Witch Queen. Yes.
So that will definitely be on a future to read for me.
I really liked it.
Yeah. Well, I'm so happy to hear that. I also really liked it. I really enjoy Norse mythology, but I don't know very much about it.
I don't either. I was like, I know a little bit about Norse mythology, and then I was like reading the book and then also like doing my own like researchy reading. I was like, I don't know as much as I thought I did, but I learned a lot.
Yep.
I realized Marvel is probably not the best
Right?
source for
no,
Norse
but it's a good intro.
It's an intro.
What I don't mind about there's two thoughts on that for me. What I don't mind about the MCU's influence on our understanding of Norse mythology is I don't mind picturing Tom Hiddleston. Thank you. I wanted to make sure I said the right Tom last name. Because he's pretty dreamy.
Oh, yeah.
He was totally the Loki in my head reading this book.
Yeah, so thank you, MCU, for that. But what?
And now this Loki's view of Thor, I'm like,
I know.
Oh, yeah.
The hammer with the short handle.
Yeah.
So let's not, what did he say? He says something about, when he says that, he says, we won't go into what that might mean.
He's
but
every bit of Loki that I love.
Loki is Odin's brother?
Yeah, Odin's brother.
What?
And not Thor's brother. And yeah, there's so many things. Like, I feel like I'm relatively well versed in like Greek mythology.
Right.
Yeah.
But I was like, I guess I don't know anything about Norse mythology. And I was reading this and like, James was like, what is your book about? And I told him and he was like, oh, okay, cool. And then I told him like, when something happened, he's like, oh yeah, he gives birth to an 8-legged horse, huh? And I was like, how do you know that? He's like, you didn't study Norse mythology in high school? I'm like, no sir, I went to public school and you went to private school. Yep. So no, we did not study Norse mythology.
I had a mix, but I was a private Catholic school, so I don't think it was on the agenda.
No, probably not.
But I think we learned about Greek mythology because that appears in like Greek, European,
but not Norse.
Right. And it's funny because they're both two ancient European based cultures. So why is Greek so
it's so prevalent,
ubiquitous?
It made me want to learn more about Norse mythology for sure,
and reference so often in literature. I think that's why
I think we do Greek mythology because of Aesop's fables.
You think so?
That people see them as cautionary tales, as the type of thing that we can all have, has a good lesson to be taught. And the Vikings are considered just violent.
Right.
Norse mythology is a little wild.
Right?
Oh my gosh.
I love it. I mean,
so much more entertaining.
I love the show The Vikings, which have you guys watched?
I love that show.
Okay, Katie.
I designed something after Agatha.
Yeah, you're in for a treat.
Yeah.
If you are interested in it.
Oh, yeah.
It's very good. I haven't enjoyed the second kind of spin-off series as much, but it's also very good. I just really like the first series.
Women badass warriors.
Yeah. It's really good. And my favorite horror movie is Midsommar.
Okay.
Okay, I'm writing that one down.
Oh,
I learned so
it's
much
a
by
daylight.
you guys.
It's a total
with one
daytime.
SOMMER.
Somar.
Yeah.
Somar.
Yeah. It's a daylight scary movie.
I have not watched it, but I know what happens in it.
Good.
I'm not watching that movie.
It's so good. And it's one of the...
What if I bet that podcast I Know What You Did, or was it called? Yeah, I saw what you did. I saw what you did. I bet they know something about Midsummer. If I listen to them, I won't be as scared.
Okay.
Sure.
I mean,
it's
not
like Ruined,
scary.
like Ruined.
This one's one that's very upsetting.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not that I don't think that it's scary, but it's the disturbing that I don't want to watch.
It's very disturbing and like suspenseful more than scary.
Like dreadful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my eyes light up.
Yeah, I love that movie. I love feeling dreadful.
I might. I mean, I work in a funeral home. So Midsummer is one of those things that I really, really love, that I know that people will judge me after they experience it themselves. Like,
if you tell someone like,
yeah.
watch this movie,
Yeah.
I love it, they're
Yeah.
gonna be like, what the hell is wrong with Anne?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's okay.
It doesn't surprise me that you love that movie, but I know you,
yeah,
so.
Yeah. Like, there's a few books out there where it's like, that's a great book, but don't read it. like once I know you've read it, then we both know we're both sickos. You know?
Yeah. I don't want to be the one that brings it up,
right.
but.
So we already answered immediately one of the questions. How familiar are you with Norse mythology?
Not
enough.
Not enough.
No.
I want to know more.
There's something so mystical about Norse mythology too. Like, and to have this experience through Mother Witch is like really solidified that mysticism.
And I thought the author did such a good job at making you feel like it was very authentic. Like, the way that she told the story, it didn't feel like a modern day, like, novel or anything. It felt very, like, legendary.
Even though Angrboda says a lot of modern things.
Yeah, her and Loki, the way that they talk to each other is very
modern.
relatable.
Yes. I think that the opening of this novel is one of the most artful openings of a story. I can't think of something that, the idea that you should always start in the midst of something.
Yes.
So you feel like you're interrupting something. First of all, I felt very disoriented. Like, I actually had to start it over and read it again.
It might have helped me that I was actually, like, reading the book, at least for the first half, before I realized, like, I got to put the pedal to the metal and finish this book. Because I was, like, leisurely reading it, and I think maybe that helped me, like, integrate into it, because I didn't feel too lost.
That's good. But
if I was listening to it, I might have, yes.
But what a scene to come upon. Like, if they ever made this into a movie, first of all, tread carefully. Secondly. And of course, it wouldn't be Tom Hiddleston, because he's like,
a different Loki
again.
Yeah.
I wanted to be him.
I know. Me too.
But this is a
Marvel,
very
get
different
on this.
Loki than Marvel Loki. And also the same, it's a very different
So
Thor and
good.
Odin and everybody else.
They could be the same.
I bet.
I feel like Thor is Thor, but
I bet Chris Hemsworth could play an a-hole, no problem.
yes. He needs a red beard to be this Thor, but other than that, yes.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
good.
fine with seeing him in anything, so.
Fair enough. My thing that's been, the living rent-free in my head is Melissa McCarthy talking about telling him to shut up when he started singing something.
I don't know this
It's
story.
so good. She's, they were like all together for something, and he starts singing, they're like, oh, that song, and da-da-da, and then he just starts belting it out, and she's like, shut up. Stop it. You can't have that too.
You can't be a good singer and look like that. Oh,
and
gosh.
nice and talented and athletic.
He's 6'3". I looked it up last night because we
Very nice.
watched Thor Ragnarok last night. And, like, the height difference between him and Mark Ruffalo, I was like, I can't imagine Mark Ruffalo is short.
He's like 5'10", I
He's
think.
like 5, yeah, it was something like
He's
that.
an acceptable
but I was
height,
like, Chris
but I still
Hemsworth
like him.
must be a giant. He is a giant.
He is, yeah.
But Loki's, or not Loki, Tom Hiddleston is 6'2".
Yeah,
so.
he's not short either. He's
No.
just more alive, wiry. Which is how she describes this Loki.
Yep.
I love in that
I
when
stand by my first assessment.
when she's cleaning him up after the gods sew his mouth closed, and she's like trying not to peek.
Yes.
Like, oh, yes.
Except this Loki is blonde.
Which Tom Hiddleston is a natural blonde.
You're right. He's got like light brown hair, right?
Yeah. He could go blonde easy.
Easy, yeah.
Yeah.
That's enough to make it different enough for
the
me.
dark looks really good on him.
I just picture him in this book. It wasn't Marvel Loki. He seemed a lot more like young and impish to me, like immature.
But he would be that at any age because he's not young clearly he's Thor's uncle, right?
Yeah, but it just the way that he
doesn't act like an uncle in power though.
Well, it's that person who never gets older, like emotionally older.
Yeah.
You're like, we've met this person.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
Angrboda, she is not physically aging either, but she is
wise.
She's an old soul.
right.
Yeah.
Which
She's
this
looking
isn't
at
a
her notes.
question. I'm going to come back to this
Okay,
idea.
okay.
I think it'll be my last
Let's
question.
move on to a question.
Yeah. What did you think of Angrboda as a protagonist? What did you like or dislike about her?
I had a little bit of a hard time getting her in my head because I like to try and imagine like what this person looks like, or to try and come up with like an actor that could play this person. And I had a hard time wrapping my head around what they looked like. So
I just came up with it right now.
okay.
Because I never had a clear picture of her either.
I was like Googling and like looking at like, you know, the legendary portraits and like the way that they're portrayed and stuff like that, just to give me like a general idea, but they're all so different. So I'm like, I really enjoyed her as a protagonist, but I had a hard time sort of like getting together with her for a minute.
Which I wonder if that's not purposeful, because we do get descriptions of her, and
it doesn't have anything to do with what she looks like.
No, that her looks are very like, they don't matter almost.
They know she's hardly described.
Yes.
Except that like
we get descriptions, but not readily.
Loki thinks that she's beautiful, or she's got fair hair and she's fair, but other than that, like there's not like a clear description about her really.
Which it's interesting that you did that research to look for what she looked like, because she looks different every time she relives her life.
That's true.
So I wonder if that is the author's choice to reconcile those historical
I also
representations.
wonder if I think the author was making a point that this is a character in Norse mythology people either don't know about or don't think about or isn't remembered as well as a lot of like the big ones, but was so integral into the story, at least in this story.
It's her story.
Like, yeah, I mean, you've heard of like not all of, but a lot of the other major players in this, but I've never heard of Angrboda. And I wonder if that has to do with the fact, and they talk about it in the book, it's like, oh, a witch used to live here, and people like don't remember her, or sort of do remember her, and yeah, I wonder if that's purposeful.
I get the sense that witches are a different type of order than the regular gods. Just like we had Titans and we had Olympians.
That could be.
Because
she is a giant.
She is a giant.
She's a frost giant like Loki.
Human. I thought she's like a human.
She's not
mix.
a god.
She's not a god, but she's not a human because humans live in Midgard.
Right.
But I don't think Loki's a giant.
He is.
Yeah.
He's a frost giant.
A frost giant.
Yeah.
Okay.
They say it a lot of times.
He's Thor's adopted brother, except not really.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
And
Scotty keeps being like, you traitor.
yeah. Yes.
Is there anything we don't like about her?
Not really.
I don't.
One thing.
I didn't find anything because I view her through the lens of a mom. And she doesn't even, she herself doesn't really remember her past lives. She was clearly a very different person, and something about that other person, I don't know, being burned 3 times and set on fire and having her heart physically taken out, kind of changes a person.
Kind of. Like so much so they can't, the trauma prevents them from.
Was heartless, but made her a better person.
Yeah. Well, now I was thinking there was one thing I didn't like, and as I was like composing my thoughts just now to enumerate it, like, no, the thing I don't like about her isn't real. Like, she tried to first of all be ignorant of the prophecy.
Yeah.
And then she tried to tell everybody that their actions were going to cause the prophecy.
Yep.
And how they, because I was like she very passively causes all of this.
Yes.
But that's not a fair thing to accuse her of, actually. Because first of all, she tried to not know. Because observing a thing changes it, right? So as soon as it was observed and known, it may have never worked this way out if like they hadn't touched this forbidden knowledge.
I chalked it all up to the trauma of, again, being burned 3 times. And plus, that's just this life.
Right. We
Who
don't know.
Yeah. I feel she struck me as a person always carrying trauma.
Yeah.
Just a lot of her reactions to survive and hide were just, she was so traumatized that she just, and once she had children, she was kind of that way even before she had kids. So
Was there a scene that stuck out to you the most that, like, when you close the book, you're thinking about later?
I just finished it last night. So for me, it's all like just the ending is relatively fresh. But yeah, I don't know if there's like a specific scene that really like jumps out, except for like the very end that I am currently thinking about. But if it had been, a week ago, I don't know what my answer would be.
So let's stop the recording. We'll reconvene next week.
Yeah. Our episode will be a week late. It's fine. You guys don't mind, right?
We want some accuracy in our portrayals. And
to me, it's not so much a scene as she had, even within this life, she had like different lives. She had her life with Loki off and on. She had more of her relationships. She had her relationship, her deep friendship with the woodswoman, the huntswoman, or giant
Scotty.
Well, Scotty. It was really like Scotty.
Yeah,
Scotty
with a D, like Scotty, like Scod. E.
Did you read it or did you listen?
I listened.
Yeah.
So I didn't see the word. The
Skadi.
Yeah.
But I thought I did. It was almost like a Scotty, but it's Scotty.
Scotty.
Yeah.
Scotty.
Well, it was like the A was an O.
Ah.
Yeah. Like Scotty. Like.
Yeah.
Like your brother. My brother's name is Scott. Yeah. Scotty.
But it's definitely a D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that is fascinating is this language is really not like English.
No.
There's some overlap because it's like related to German, right? German and the Norse languages overlap, which I think is part of the fascination. Is it's that one more step away from our experience of the world.
Yeah.
So what alphabet do they use? I mean, is it still the similar letters? Because when you think of German, I think of German still uses our same alphabet. They don't have additional letters,
but they do have things like
different accents on
German has the umlaut, like they have symbols.
Yeah, I still think they use what is it called, like Roman.
Yeah, Roman characters.
Yeah,
but they do have some unique symbols.
Yeah, because the way Scotty, her name is spelled when I was like Googling these characters and looking up their like whatevers, has an interesting character for the D that I don't know because I don't read or speak, whatever it is, but
character guide in here.
Yeah, it's now that I'm like sort of thinking about it again, your question about like what scene sticks out, it for me right now at least, it's when they're like on the side of the sea cliff and her sons come to her.
Yeah.
And I'm like crying in my car.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That part was so good.
And those babies are so like loyal to her,
Yeah.
which is a truth about sons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like this book portrayed mother-child relationships so beautifully. Like the daughter judging her, like not in a bad way, but like watching, judging, figuring out what her mom is about and relating that to herself. Right. But that deep bond between a father and daughter.
Yeah.
Where like, I think that's maybe the scenes that are going to stick out for me as time and distance go for this book is the winter they spend together or when Loki first meets, Hel and Angerboda's like, she thinks that she's witnessed love at first sight. Yeah. Like, I love that.
Yeah. It was very sweet.
He is so delighted about everything about his daughter. I think she is like, if he would be like, she's got a lot of her dad in her.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, I mean, I often, like, I don't know. I definitely related to my dad better than to my mom.
Yeah.
But there's fraught things with a mother-daughter relationship.
Yep.
But sons are devoted to their mothers, like, to the end of the world.
Yes. Yeah, I felt like that was pretty well portrayed.
What do you think about Angerboda's relationships in the story, whether it was Loki, Scotty, or her children?
I sort of felt like Scotty when she was with Loki.
Oh,
because I'm like,
because he's a bad boyfriend.
He is a bad boyfriend. He's a bad husband.
Exciting. He's like exciting.
Yeah,
but
like I understand why she likes him.
Yeah,
completely self-absorbed. no care for consequences. That's somebody else's mess to clean up.
And I thought the like very realistic, like he's feeding her treats and like keeping her up past her bedtime, and he's like, "What do I care? She's having a great time." And she's like, "You don't know. You're not the one that puts her to bed every night." You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's kind of a crappy husband thing to do.
Literally,
Yeah.
not the one.
No.
Oh, I mean, of course, I'm going to think about her children being torn away from her and Hel begging, like, I will be a good girl.
Oh my God, I know. I'm sorry. I will be good. I promise.
Oh,
I know. It's
that
horrible.
poor baby.
I know.
And the way that children do that to reconcile the bad things that happen to
Yeah.
them in their life of like, I'll
As if
just be as
taking
good
it
as
upon
I
I promise I'll
themselves
be
is
good.
not them.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah.
So sad.
So Loki's a bad boyfriend. We're
Yeah.
sad for our girlfriend Angerboda being with him, even though he's an exciting man to have around.
Yes.
He's not a great partner. Who loves Scotty?
Oh, I love Scotty.
I love Scotty. Everything about her.
Sidebar, Charlize Theron to play Angerboda.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, it could be any.
Sure. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I didn't have a clear vision of her, so that's totally fine.
I totally see that.
Okay.
I was thinking of like a Gwendolyn Christie for Scotty.
Exactly. Took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah.
How do I know her?
She's
was
in
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. She's
Didn't watch
Brienne. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brienne of Tarth.
I didn't watch it either, but
The Sapphire Islands. She's also of
Captain Phasma in the new Star Wars
yeah.
movies.
Oh, okay.
Also, she's in
Maybe.
Wednesday. She plays the schoolmaster.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
she's a schoolmaster. Okay,
Which
there you go. I love that
think
show.
She is a statuesque,
Oh,
glorious woman.
yes.
Yeah.
And gorgeous.
Yep.
So
Oh, yeah.
I love, but also
Scotty.
And Scotty.
extremely talented because she can play Brienne. She can play,
Captain Phasma.
thank you. And then she plays this very elegant schoolmaster,
Yeah.
which I
Very
love
nuanced.
that she got to be so beautiful in
Yeah.
that because I love the costuming and all the
Yep.
makeup and everything on that. The character styling, I guess.
Yeah, love Scotty.
Mm-hmm.
How about Angerboda's children, her brood? I love the kind of mother she is.
Yeah.
Like, if we could all have such a relationship with our mom where she just
She loves them
looks
for who
on
they are.
us, does what she needs to do for us exactly as we are.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
like that's hard. I want that for my children, but I know I'm not delivering all the time, you know?
She's got the exhaust, but she lets them be themselves, but at the same time, she still is trying to guide them
Mm-hmm.
through this world.
Mhm.
Like, please don't eat your brother.
Yeah.
Don't try to, please don't attack your sister.
Yeah.
The kind of thing and it's exhausting.
Yeah.
She's like this, doing the single mom bit
Yep.
with some very challenging children.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, regular children have got to be hard enough, but raising a giant serpent and a half dead child, you have to rub
rub
salve
it.
on her dead legs and a giant wolf.
Yeah, but she got the cuddler. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a snake, but he's a cuddler.
Yeah, so sweet.
Yeah,
Carrying him
so
around,
cute.
around her waist.
Nudging his little snake head against hers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because snakes as pets to me do not make sense.
No.
And so,
To me either, and I have had a snake as
Right?
a pet, and they're a pretty useless pet.
right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, Roxy doesn't interact at all.
But the idea that this
This would be
snake
different.
can find a way to express those human emotions in a real, like, quantifiable way. I thought that was really sweet.
And how, like, good of an author is it to portray it in such a way that you're like, oh, he's so cute.
Little snake baby. And her little wolf pup. Yes.
So cute.
And her daughter with the dead legs.
Yes. That was easy for me. Like,
Yeah.
of course, if you were losing your baby and you could pull her back from death.
Why wouldn't you?
Of course I would.
And then
You
she
had the
becomes
power
an
to do
angsty
so.
teenager that doesn't appreciate it.
Right. Well, I mean, her legs had wasted away.
I really
Yeah.
did not like that part when they
No.
describe how she's walking around and she makes like a clicking
Quack,
noise.
quack, quack.
Oh, so
That-
creepy.
Every bit of horror,
Oh, it was
sound effects,
beautiful.
I just love it.
Beautiful. I glad that you brought up that moment, because that was a moment that was lost on me when Angerboda's like, you've prepared your hall for someone. This isn't for me, so who's coming?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she says it's Boulder.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, Boulder died.
Yeah.
Oh!
Oh, yeah!
Oh, okay, yeah.
Hey, new boyfriend.
Oh, and I love that too, because there was the boys that you liked when you were
Yeah.
too young to really understand what a crush was.
Yeah.
And then Dad sends him your way. Aww.
Oh, thanks, Dad.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on how Loki was presented and interpreted in this novel? Well, yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to share that we had covered that one.
Yes, we've covered that one.
Yeah.
I never trusted him.
No. I mean,
he's Loki. That's the one thing about
he's
everything
Loki's so Loki.
in every portrayal of him. I'm like, Thor, why do you keep trusting him?
Because he's so lovable.
I know, but
Right?
come on, man. Like, he's like, oh, Loki, you did it again. And you're like, that's what he does. That's the point of Loki.
Yeah.
What's so sad is he knows what childbirth is like. And
Oh
he
my God,
still
that was my
didn't
favorite
have-
part.
An
was reading
eight-legged
it.
horse. Oh my God. Can you imagine? I had a child with two
I
legs
think
kick
they
me in the back. I cannot imagine having
Right.
8 legs.
Also, did you find any paintings of that? Because what does
No.
that even look like?
I meant to look it up today, but
An
I was telling
octopus
James
with a
I
horse's
was-
head.
Yeah.
I was
But how does Odin ride that then?
I don't know. It says it was graceful.
Yeah, sure it was.
I was telling James that I was like, when I was reading this book, I'm like, oh, it's about Loki and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, Loki just turned into a horse and got impregnated by another horse and has to stay a horse until he gives birth as a horse. And then he gave birth to an 8-legged horse baby. And James was like, oh yeah, that horse baby's name is blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, how do you know that?
Yeah.
That was the point where I was
Yep.
like, how do you know these things?
Yep.
Yeah. I liked that part.
It says he's slippery, so maybe he was birthed well.
Ugh, gross.
That's what his name means. It's like
Slippery.
Slipnir, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Um.
Slippery like his dad when it comes to the
Yeah.
truth.
Oh, this is a horrifying drawing of it. Here.
Oh, I don't like that at all. Don't show me that picture again.
Well, there's a nicer
Tell people
one.
what to Google to look at that
Yeah.
scary picture.
Okay. Well, I just Googled 8-legged horse in Norse mythology, and what Google shows you for images. This is the one. Do you think you know everything about Slipnir's history?
I don't
No,
know
I don't
anything about him.
I mean, we know a little bit.
That's
He's
true. Now I know a
Loki's
little bit.
first child.
Ugh.
I was thinking that, like, it's obvious that Loki was going to be drawn back to his family with Angerboda over Sigyn, because they're interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And his other two sons are probably boring.
They're probably fine. They're
Boring.
probably fine.
They're
Boring.
ordinary. They're
Yeah.
ordinary.
But I want to go
Ordinary
play with
God.
my wolf baby.
Right. And my adorable daughter, because that's his only daughter of all his children, even the horse.
Yeah,
What's
I
her name
assume
again?
the horse is a
Signa?
boy.
What?
Sigyn.
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 Sigyn. I felt really bad for her.
I think
I
you're
had
supposed to.
a lot of sympathy for her.
I feel medium, because she married him knowing he had another wife.
Well, did she?
Yeah.
Did she tell her?
It sounded
Yes.
like
Mm.
He's, first of all, never
Oh,
lied.
that's true.
but
and he told the Asgardians that he had a wife.
never told him about the children, though. She didn't know.
He
She-
did
he
tell
knew.
her about
I don't think
that
she
there
knew
were
the
children.
nature of her
Yeah.
children.
Which is exactly
she
what-
thought they were just
yeah.
kids like her kids.
You never told me the nature of these children.
They're monsters.
They're monsters. Yeah. And then I would have torn
when
her
he
eyes
said
out.
it and the kids heard him say that.
Yeah.
And still Hel loved her father, even though he thought she was a
Oh.
monster.
I wonder, are there children who still love their parents after they've been hurt by them?
Yeah. Thank goodness.
Yeah. There have been a lot of marketing comparisons between this book and Madeline Miller's Circe.
Mm.
What did you think
Oh,
of
I
this
can do
marketing choice? Okay. Two moms.
Sure.
Two fierce moms.
Yeah.
I really liked Circe, and I really liked
Yeah.
this book, and
If
they,
one-
both of them made me want to learn more about both.
If
different
one directed me
mythologies.
to the other, I'm happy for that.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
They
Okay,
were
cool.
not in competition. They were not in competition.
That's fine.
No.
I wanted to read both.
Yeah. The parts of this book were separated out in very deliberate chunks of time and very deliberate themes. Did you have a part that you liked best?
I was frustrated by the lack of chapters because it was hard for me to look things up later on I had like the ebook version that I was like reading, but then when I was listening, I was like, oh, I want to go back and see, but I had a really hard time finding anything because the first part is just half of a book,
5 hours,
right?
Yeah. That's
so,
actually how I was like, I'm so confused by the beginning, I should start it over.
Yeah.
But I actually had let it autoplay with my volume down, and I didn't know, and it went like an hour ahead, and I didn't know there weren't chapters, so I just hit the back button.
Back to the beginning you go.
Back to the beginning. I'm like, oh, okay, well, an hour lost.
Yeah.
But I need this anyway.
I understand why if you were, like, when I was reading the book, it was fine. But when I was listening to it, sometimes I wanted to go back or whatever, but that was but I understand why the author organized it that way, because you're right, it's very much like in 3 parts, of the beginning. The first part is so long, and that's her life with Loki and raising her children and all that. So yeah, I enjoyed the way that it was structured. I didn't find it slow or draggy or anything.
It did not feel like 11 hours.
No.
No.
It's so engaging.
I thought the way that the perception of time moving in this was very interesting. Because at times, like, their winter together when Loki spends that next winter with her, that is a lifetime. Or the Thimble winter. That's a long time too. But her roaming when she's trying to like gather
17 years or something.
Yeah, like the children were little and now they're teenagers.
But I also don't know how demigods age, so I'm like, I don't know.
Was it even only 17 years? Like, because we're just assuming, right? Because she's a 5-year-old to being an adult,
right? So
that's a fair assumption of time.
Yeah.
So that was interesting where time was drawn out
and where it was spent. Yeah. And they took the time.
Moved quickly.
Yeah.
But again, maybe that is to show that time is maybe meaningless to these beings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Age and trying to figure out how what these people look like. Cause for me, for Angerboda, I was sort of picturing an old woman for a lot of it.
Yeah, because of her
personality
inner,
and her inner, the way that she speaks and the way that she acts. I'm like, this is a person who has lived and seen some things, but I don't think that that's what she looked like. It's just what my brain conjured for her to be. I'm like, I don't know, she's an old lady, but she's not an old lady.
Did this book impact your mood, like overall, like the Lessening book? That definitely impacted my mood. Great book. I'm never going to back down on it being a great book, but it most certainly affected my mood. How about this one?
There were lots of times where I had my headphones on and listening to it in the kitchen while I'm making food and stuff, and I might have startled some people going, "No, no!" Yeah, or "Oh my god!" Yeah. I made me audibly cry out.
Oof. You were very engaged.
I was in a good mood reading this book. It made me like feel good.
Yeah.
It wasn't like,
even though really bad things happened.
Yeah. But in general, it was
a great story,
and it was such an interesting book that like I felt very engaged listening to it or reading it. Like I thoroughly enjoyed it.
So invested and uplifted.
Yeah.
And I think a good mix of both those feelings.
Yeah.
Okay. That is all of my questions, but I have this one thought.
Okay.
So do you think, because Loki also seems to have a hard time remembering his past.
Yeah.
Right? Did you pick up on that?
A little bit, yeah.
Do you think this had all happened before with them?
Oh, I don't know.
Like maybe
in a past life they had found each other too?
No, not Ragnarok. Just their love affair. Oh. As Gulvig. Do you think that maybe they found each other again when he brings the
I could see that.
I could see, yeah.
That was like a nagging thought in my head the whole time of like, is he one of the things she can't remember?
Yeah.
This like a drug.
It could definitely be. There's some quote that I heard. I don't remember what it was from. Oh, it's from Lord of the Rings. Aragorn and Arwen. I can't remember who says it, but it's like, in any lifetime I would have found you, or something like that. Right on. It's like, I wonder if that's the... Yes. But I don't think that their love is as pure as that.
No.
I don't think anybody's is, but... No. Yeah. But no, that's an interesting
But yeah,
thought.
that's where my brain is. That little tickle.
They would have found each other in a different life as well.
Yeah. And had they before?
Yeah.
Because there's something that never is answered, right? I mean, I maybe I didn't catch it if it is. Does the she-wolf ever tell Angerboda why she left the yarn mirrors? Is that what they were called?
Yeah. I don't know, but I felt like I missed a lot that I'm like, I could reread this and I feel like I would get so much more out of it because I felt like I was missing things sometimes where I'm like, if I had read the whole book, that I felt like I would have gotten a lot more out of it. Deeper. And I sort of shot myself in the foot without giving myself the time to read the whole thing. So yeah, I don't know. I'd like to read it again because I do feel like I missed stuff. I have a question.
Yeah.
Who's gonna teach me how to null bend?
Thank you for bringing it up because I was like, how in
that's still a thing.
Back of my head right now, I'm like, we got to talk about our null binding.
Yeah, I want to know.
I love that.
I'm like, that's one of those things that I've always been like, I'll learn that someday. I never have, but
somebody null binds in our like former Anakappa community.
Someone in our circle,
not someone we've seen in a long time. But there is someone who knows how to null bind.
I'm sure I could learn the basics.
Yeah.
But
you could learn anything. We know that.
Yeah. I like to think I could teach myself how to
I
do
know
anything.
You could. Yeah. But it would be fun to learn it from someone.
Yes.
Yeah. To feel, that's the point of why we teach people in person.
Yes. I want to be taught. I loved that.
Yes. And
loved it.
Mom. Okay. So she's tucking her in at the end of part 2. She's tucking her in and takes the time to mention she takes those ancient fingerless mitts off. Oh,
when she's working on him in secret and she doesn't want her mom to see what she's doing.
Oh, I love that.
And she's working so hard on it and she gives her the present and she's like, you made these for me. Oh, so cute.
And even when she visited her down in the underworld, she's like, it made an impact that no matter what happened, her mother still wears her gift.
Mm-hmm. And how much sorrow, like all the sorrow that goes along with Hel being kidnapped and stolen away to Asgard. And she's there and she doesn't have her favorite toy.
Oh, I know.
Or
her fiber
null binding to keep her hands busy. Like the
torment That would be the worst torment, to be in charge of this underworld kingdom and no yarn.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also liked Gerd and her tablet woven belts too.
Oh, Gerd.
Gerd.
Oh, I liked her, and then
Gerd or whatever.
Yeah.
Led astray.
Well, then I saw her name written, and it's like Gerd, right? Like, well, it's Gurd, but the pronunciation's Gerd, and it's like, yes, that terrible disease.
Yes,
that's you.
That thing,
choking people.
Yeah, I loved the fiber art representation in this.
Yes. So the next book, The Weaver and the Witch Queen.
Excited about that.
It's the Weaver.
Weaving.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which, I mean, is another important part of Norse culture is their
we
phenomenal weaving.
A sequel, a future sequel, where all 3 of us read it.
Yeah. You mean a book club episode?
Yeah. a sequel to the book club episode.
Yeah. Part 2.
Not immediately.
Yeah, that's fine. There's so many things to read. Anybody finish any books?
I read 2 books this month apart from this.
Congratulations.
Aren't you proud of me? Oh, sorry. I wanted to say I have this note pulled up that I wrote down yesterday. Thor Ragnarok is one of my top 10 favorite movies. I love that movie so much.
I have a controversial opinion about it.
Okay.
It's barely a Thor movie. It's really a Hulk movie.
I mean, there's a lot of Hulk in that movie. But I love that movie very much. And so when I was reading this book, it made me appreciate and want to watch it again. So when I finished the book yesterday, I was like, James, we're watching this today. Because I was like, I don't know, all of the characters, like, I wrote down characters that are in it that are represented in the book. So is it Surt? The god with the flaming sword that causes the apocalypse, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So Surta is in Thor Ragnarok. He's the one that causes Ragnarok. He's born from the eternal flame. The dragon, who I don't know how to say their name, Njolkr, I don't know, is in it, and Hel, obviously.
Yep. Also, not the right relationships.
No, that's all wrong.
But I love her. Hel
versus Hela. Yeah. And also at one point in the movie, Loki says to Thor's like, why didn't you see this coming or whatever? And Loki says, I can't see into the future. I'm not a witch. And I was like, he's married to a witch that can see into the future in the book. Yeah. I was like, I never caught that before. So yeah, it made me appreciate one of my favorite movies more. So I thoroughly enjoyed it.
But I love the idea that Loki has a love affair, which I started to think about the show and like him falling in love with his own like time split self.
Yes. I need to rewatch that. It's been a minute.
Yeah. And it's coming back, I think.
I think it is. Yeah. Okay. So the other 2 books I read this month are The Love Hypothesis by Allie Hazelwood, I think, which is a book that I've always meant to read. It has been in my like nook waiting for me for a long time. Cute romance novel. The characters are based on, I think it's sort of like a you know how 50 Shades of Grey started as a fan fiction. Mm-hmm. So I think that these characters started as a Rey and Kylo fan fiction because they're based on like the main character. I can't remember his name. The love interest is basically like Kylo Ren.
There you go.
But it was very cute. Liked it. And then I read God Spare the Girls by Kelsey McKinney. Which was fantastic. My cousin recommended it to me. It's about 2 sisters who are like pastors' daughters in Texas of like a mega church, and sort of like a falling out with that community and them like learning about themselves and their sisterhood. And it was very, very good. I really enjoyed that. Kelsey McKinney is the host of a podcast that I enjoy, and so when I heard I knew she had written a novel, I hadn't looked it up, and then my cousin was like, have you read our book yet? And it was very good. So those are the 2 books that I read this month. I'm proud of myself that I read 3 whole books this month.
Yeah. Karin, what have you read?
I listened to a lot of books.
You don't have to remember. You don't have to that's still differentiate. Not here, Karin. You're safe.
I got through 2 out of the 3 books in this series by Nnedi Okorafor, Akata Witch and Akata Warrior.
That's so on my like future read list.
Well, I believe I have the paper copy, but I chose to listen to it, and I have Akata Warrior, which is the 3rd one to listen to. Or 2 of my favorites is The Monsters We Defy by Leslie Penelope. So good. Think of it as it's kind of horror fun fiction set in abolitionist. Not abolitionist. In what's it when you can't have drink?
Oh, prohibition.
In prohibition. I knew it was a different kind of ishin. Prohibition.
Something else sucky.
Fun. Burnt Offerings is a recent one by Stephen Graham Jones and somebody else. So I think it was and that was another interesting. It's the people they're dying to get out of the city, and they get this unbelievable. I mean, like crazy, unbelievable summer. In this mansion, this extremely expensive mansion filled with priceless paintings and art and everything for $900 for the whole summer.
Oh, that sounds like a trip my husband was trying to make plan to going to Ensenada.
And their child's
seem like a right price.
Did you see that old tricycle and all the blood that was on it?
Ooh.
And all these weird things are like...
It's like when you buy a house in a horror
super
movie.
creepy.
Well, you don't know it's a horror movie, but you buy a house and you get a really good deal on it.
You don't know you're in a horror movie.
It's a
dun, dun, dun.
It's so good, though. And there's one caveat. There's an old person who cannot be moved. You'll never see her. You'll never even notice she's there. Just leave some food on a tray for her.
I think I saw it because at some point I was
it's so good though.
Kind of like obsessed with all the bad roommate squatter stories, and I think I came across a listing for like somebody was trying to sell a house where there's somebody living in the upstairs. Don't worry about them.
Oh no, I'll worry about them.
Yeah.
I will be worried.
Okay. Absolute favorite is my 5th book, Kat and Vivian.
Oh, what's that about?
And I had it up a moment ago. Okay, so Vivian is a former reporter and a newlywed. Doesn't know what to do with herself after an incident with her husband forces her to question their partnership and her future. Yearning for the ocean air and a sense of home, she retreats to Tybee Island to clear her head and to visit her Nana, a retired PI who now struggles with dementia. The phone rings. Catherine Grant, a housewife living in a private development nearby, woke up to find her husband and her baby girl missing, and she's desperate for help. Is she?
Mm-hmm. Oh no! Oh no! It's not like that kind of story.
It's more of a crime-solving PI. It's like Vivian is in a tough spot. She goes to visit her Nana, trying to hide the bruises.
Ooh.
And won't answer her husband's phone calls, trying to just get some air and some space in her head. And she gets this call. Her grandmother was famous for her PI work, but she can't do this anymore because she has dementia. But she has notes, and she's trained. She kind of raised Vivian.
Uh-huh.
And so Vivian is the one that was hired to try to solve this mystery that may or may not really be a mystery. And Catherine Grant is the sometimes dramatic, known for her drama.
Is she an untrustworthy
she might be. She
main
might
character?
be. Yeah.
All right.
So it was really good. There's just this juxtaposition. Well read. That is by, who is the author of that one? By Amanda Iyer Ward. Kat and Vivian. It's a really good listen too.
Okay. I think you said something about like having a productive month. Like I also had a pretty productive month. Yeah. So I listened to a lot of things. I snuck some nonfiction in.
Nice.
A book called 9 Pints by Rose George. It's about it's a UK perspective on the business surrounding blood donation, which I'm very pro blood donation. So it was really fascinating. It only touches on the American market a little bit, but it's nothing good. And I recommend it to anyone, even if you are not into blood donation, because it has some really really things about attitudes about menstruation around the world, which is really really interesting about how things concerning this vital fluid craft our world. Fascinating and haunting. I've made it through a couple more Inspector Gamache novels. I think I'm on the 10th one, 9th or 10th. So You'll stop hearing about those. I'm about halfway through. I think she's got 17 books.
You had the audiobook on last Saturday, and whenever I saw you last, and I was happy to kind of turn off what I was listening to because I recognized
the narrator's wonderful.
And it's the same one throughout. So they're like old friends.
Yes, exactly. I listened to this very weird. I'm Audible does these podcasts that are more like audio plays.
Yeah.
This was called The Prophecy. And the idea is that all these biblical stories were coming true in modern life all at one time. So the storm to flood, Mary and the Immaculate Birth, Doubting Thomas. I think they were setting up Joan of Arc, but they never followed that through. Jonah and the whale, and Daniel in the lion's cave. And there's some other peripheral things. And the idea is that that there have been many comings of Jesus, and that it was very much like a story of racial justice, because it's Kerry Washington is the main character, and she's portraying Mary.
Listen to that.
It was good, interesting. I'm still digesting it, but at the end it comes to the point where they're and they're not obfuscating the point at all. She's like, this is what every black male child in the world is going to face, and so I'm not going to protect my son in any other extraordinary way. He's going to have a life. Mm-hmm. And then I think I gave up on the last episode where they were starting to show the horrible, bad, racist leader who was coming into power. I think I still need to finish the last episode.
Yeah.
Actually, I have 3 minutes left, so I can't how much more could they be doing in 3 months? So I almost made it through. But very, very well acted. All the talents were really, really good. And now for my ultimate favorite, Andy Weir, the author of The Martian and Artemis. I just finished Project Hail Mary.
Oh.
It's amazing. I have thought about it as a book club book many times, but it's 17 hours. So I keep thinking, that's kind of long, but you cannot put it down.
Okay.
It will not be a book club offering, but I do really recommend it. And unfortunately, I can't tell you one thing about it without ruining it.
Oh, wow.
I
am so intrigued.
You have to just start it and experience it. So, for example, I've been looking more and more at Goodreads to get a gist of what's out there because sometimes it's a little overwhelming, right? So, I loved Artemis. It's a heist story, basically, on the moon.
Yeah, I liked it.
I really loved it. But it's not as well reviewed as The Martian. The Martian is like 4.6 stars or something with over 1 million reviews or 1 million star ratings. Artemis is only like 3.8, which makes me very sad. How is it not over 4? Yeah. But it only has like 250,000 stars or star ratings. Project Hail Mary came out maybe 2 years ago. It has 500,000 ratings and it is almost equal with The Martian. It's really good, guys.
Okay.
And I've just been recommending it all over the place. Same thing of like, I'm so sorry I can't tell you anything about it. You just have to go on the reputation of Andy Weir being a very good craftsperson of storytelling. And one of my coworkers who I recommended Artemis to and he enjoyed, he started listening and I'm like, sorry, you just have to trust me. It's good. And the same thing, he like, oh my gosh, I can't believe what's unraveling. Kevin listened to it in like 3 days.
Wow.
I mean, maybe it was like a Thursday to a Tuesday or something. Because he couldn't put it down. Dante is torturing us because he only listens to it at bedtime and he's doing 3 chapters a night.
Wow. And you're like, come on, man, I want to talk to you.
Because you can't like, everything triggers something else to unfurl in the storytelling. And you can't like talk about it until someone's all the way done.
Oh gosh.
It's making like my all-time favorite book list for how much I enjoyed it. So that's what I read.
Nice.
Karen,
what are we reading next?
You're the chooser of the next book.
Okay, so I just saw the title of this one and I'm like, that sounds fascinating. I didn't even look at the inside cover or do reviews. It's a novel by Jessie Q. Sutanto, national best-selling author of Dial A for Aunties. Haven't read that one either. It's called Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers. I mean, it had me.
Well, I love Vera Wong, but Vera Wang.
This is Vera Wong.
Yes.
I think maybe a little bit older.
Right.
So here... Vera Wong is a lonely little old lady, lady of a certain age, who lives above her forgotten tea shop in the middle of San Francisco's Chinatown. Now, despite living alone, Vera is not needy. Oh no. She likes nothing more than sipping on a good cup of oolong and doing some healthy detective work on the internet about what her Gen Z son is up to. Then one morning, Vera trudges downstairs to find a curious thing. There's a dead man in the middle of her tea shop. In his outstretched hand is a flash drive. Vera doesn't know what comes over her, but after calling the cops like any good citizen would, she sort of swipes the flash drive off the body and tucks it safely into her pocket of her apron. Well, why? Because Vera is sure she will do a better job than the police possibly can. Nobody sniffs out a wrongdoing quite like a suspicious Chinese mother with time on her hands. Vera knows the killer will be back for the flash drive. All she has to do is watch the increasing number of customers at her shop and figure out which one among them is the killer. What Vera does not expect is to form friendships with her customers and to start to care for each and every one of them. As a protective mother hen, will she end up having to give one of her newfound chicks to the police? So
cool.
Interesting.
It sounds a little light.
Yeah.
I like that
fun.
though.
Yes. I like, and it's a very cute cover.
Yeah. And the cover is this cartoon illustration of what looks like blinds and what looks like a Chinese grandma. You see part of her face and her hand pulling the blinds, like the vertical blinds down a little bit. So clearly these are not my wood ones. These would be the old aluminum kind that they have. And actually we have them here.
Karin would be very mad if you bent her wooden blinds.
Maybe they just would substitute their plastic, but they're harder. So,
well, I'm really glad you guys enjoyed my trip.
Yeah, very much
and
so.
I'm looking forward to yours. It sounds really fun, Karin.
Okie dokie. Well, if you read this book or any of the books we talked about, or any book that you want us to talk about, let us know. You can leave us a comment or shoot us an email or wherever you contact us, or if you see us in person, tell us that too.
I'd love to see you in person.
Yeah. We hope you enjoyed. Check us out in our regular podcast episodes. They come out the first Tuesday of the month, and then book clubs come out the third Tuesday of the month. So you can hear from us then, and we will see y'all next time. Bye, everyone.
See ya.
Strings Unraveled is a production of Strings and Things Studio, with Anne Lekravin-Kazoli, Kaity Von Rader-Fraker, and Karin Wilmoth. Recorded and edited by Kaity Von Rader-Fraker. Find us online at stringsandthingsstudio.com or on Facebook or Instagram at Strings and Things Studio. You can email us at stringsandthingsinfo@gmail.com.